Welcome back. Football season's here, and I know it's my most fun time of the year. Excited about getting started and can't wait till next week. And in fact, I'm excited about watching games tomorrow. It'll be fun to have it kicked off. And when you do, as a coach, what you do is you sit there and you watch all the games and then you make notes. Oh my gosh, they didn't create an edge on this sweep play, and this happened, and you're texting your coaches and players during the game. And we'll actually have our players with a to-do list tomorrow during the Florida State-Georgia Tech game, because we play both teams. So we'll require them to watch the game and then give them assignments to write up with what they see and what they think for later down the road, and also talk to them about looking at things in those games tomorrow that might come up next Thursday for them and how they would handle it. As we wrap up preseason camp, and we did it a couple of days ago, we've been really, really hard on all the little things. We've said we're trying to figure out how we can finish better. We've had more penalties than we should have. We've got the best academics in the ACC, the third best in the country, so we shouldn't be having penalties. So we've talked to the guys about that's a lack of discipline when we have penalties. This game last year, I think we only had 3. We might have had 5. It was very, very few, and that was a big factor in winning the Minnesota game last year. So we have documented every penalty. We've had ACC officials at every practice, and then there have been consequences for those that have had penalties. We have really cut down on the pre-snap and post-whistle penalties, and those are things you cannot have. And then you've got to limit the ones within the whistles, and those are usually holding penalties and pass interference penalties. That's the large majority of the penalties in college football as you look at it. But you can't have false starts, you can't have late hits, you can't have offsides. Those are things that are just mental penalties that get you killed. So we've done a much better job, and we've actually put up in every team meeting how many penalties we had by each side of the ball and who had them. And then we've put them up on a video screen in the locker room so players can see every day who needs to clean up their penalties. And therefore, it goes back to going to class, being on time. It goes back to keeping your locker room clean. It goes back to keeping the players' lounge clean. All of those little things we feel like will help us on the field as we get there. It's been the most fun camp I've ever been around because the guys have done everything we've asked them to do. They've been ready to practice every time. We haven't had a bad practice. We've had tremendous leadership. It's the best leadership. We talk about player-led teams being important. This is the best we've had on this team since we've been here. So it's been fun. They've been fun. They've policed themselves. They're the ones that run the guys when they have penalties during practice the next day. They decide what they do and they run it with them. If in their position unit someone has a disciplinary issue, the players decide what they do and the whole unit runs them. So it's been fun and really good. The other thing, we've hit more. We've scrimmaged more. We've tackled more during practice and scrimmages than at any time since we've been here because we've got more depth. And part of that's we've recruited better, and part of it's that we're developing better. So we've got a lot more guys that are playing, and young guys have to tackle. Old guys, Marion Hampton's been hit enough. He gets hit some, but he carried the ball enough last year. Why are we going to beat him up in a scrimmage? He just needs to get his ball security. He knows what to do and be fresh for the game. So we've hit all the other backs a lot in live scrimmages. We're not going to hit Omarion in a live scrimmage. He'll get his first contact next week. But the young linebackers need to tackle, and they've got to scrimmage. You can't put them in a thud situation and throw them out there in a ball game and expect them to tackle well. So we've scrimmaged more than we've ever scrimmaged, and we've stayed healthy. We've told the guys, unless you practice on Sunday, which will be like a Tuesday practice for a Saturday game, if you don't practice this Sunday, you're not going to make the trip. As of right now, we think everybody's going to be ready to practice. Amari Campbell he practiced yesterday full speed and got after it, looked really good, so we're proud of him. So guys are ready to go. We had some soreness in the receiving corps, and all those guys are back out there running around. So we feel like that they're all in a position to play as of right now for next Thursday. Depth chart, PJ Flex, a good friend of mine, he decided not to release a depth chart. I think to be fair to our team, we're going to do the same. We're not going to release a depth chart. We haven't even talked to them about who's going to start at what position. They see every practice. They see every play on an iPad, so they know who's going to play. And we'll figure out, do we tell them at each position who's going to play? Do we tell them in their own unit? Does it matter? But they know who's going to play. So that doesn't make any difference to us. Most of the Minnesota team's back. So they were all, the lines of scrimmage were so good. Most of the guys that played against us last year, we anticipate will play. But we will see if they have any changes in the first quarter, like they will see if we have any changes. And then we'll go back next Monday, the following week, before the Charlotte game, to our regular releasing a depth chart, and it'll be the same as we move forward. As far as offense is concerned, right now we're planning on playing both quarterbacks, depending on how the game dictates. I mean, one of the problems we had last year is Connor came in the West Virginia game without any experience because Drake didn't play in the bowl game. So part of developing depth, we want to have two quarterbacks ready to play. And that's important to us. Very few people do that. That's something that we have not done a very good job of, and we've been lucky that Drake and Sam stayed healthy. But it's hurt us that we did not have someone ready if they had gotten hurt. We lost a national championship game to Alabama in 2010 because Colt McCoy got hurt on the 5th play of the game, and our backup had not had a lot of experience. We didn't play him enough. We're trying to get Colt the Heisman. So that's part of making all that work. But then we ended up having a freshman quarterback out there, and we were down by 3 points with 5 minutes left to go, 4 minutes left to go in the game, but we lost the game. And we didn't play him enough then. So depending on how the game goes, we would like to play two quarterbacks, and we'd like to do it for the season. And the offensive staff has done a really good job. Connor and Mack are different. They're the same in some ways, but they're different in others. And the offensive staff has done a really good job of blending the line with what both of them do best. So I feel really good going into the game about the plan for both of those, because they've tailored it to where the quarterback that's in the game will have things that he can do best without question. But I do see scenarios where both play. Defensively, I've been impressed with Jeff Collins. He hadn't been the stubborn guy that sat around in his ear off and just said, this is what I do, it's what I did at Mississippi State, it's what I did at Florida. He's come in, he's looked at our personnel, he's looked at, he's had great visits with all of our coaches, and he's doing a great job, in my estimation, of making this defense work for this place and this team, not just a, quote, Jeff Collins defense. So he's changed a lot of things. He's given our offensive line a lot of looks, which is really good for preseason. You usually don't get that. The defense has had a lot of looks because we've had two quarterbacks, and we've given them a lot of different plays to try to work against. So I like his approach and the fact that he has fine-tuned a lot of the things that he's done in his past moving forward with this defense. We've been good at times on defense and gotten credit for it because we've been bad at times on defense too. But more than not, we have not been a consistently good defense. That's kept us from getting where we want to go. What I've seen is that we've got older players on defense. We're more experienced on defense. Ted Monachino has the front playing well. You've got a question mark when you lose a Ced Gray, obviously. with Amari Campbell, and who would the other young ones be that can step up there, because we've got to get more depth at linebacker. But you've got an older secondary, and those guys have played now, and we've given up too many explosive plays in the secondary, I think mainly because of miscommunication. And I'm seeing less of that now. So I'm excited about what I see. I'm seeing 4 older safeties that can all play, and you can just rotate them in. So we're talking about depth. Everybody says, well, you haven't played depth. Well, if you don't have it, you can't play it. If you get people hurt and you don't have anybody to put in, you can't, but you got to develop it. And I'm seeing opportunities now for us to do that. So to get from good to great, we're sitting here after 5 years where we've had the second most wins in the ACC behind Clemson, tied with NC State. So we've been good. Because we've lost to NC State 3 times, and because we've lost at the end of the year, we haven't gotten credit for being good. But we want to be great. That's what we're working toward, and we'll continue to do that. Right now, special teams, there's been a huge emphasis. A lot of your starters will play on it. You still have a lot of backups on your special teams. And it gives them a chance to develop, especially if you're playing more people. They're going to play in the game, but then they elevate as you go through the season and get better in those areas. But we've got to change games on special teams. We can't just be okay or poor. And the special teams coach from Syracuse last year is the special teams coach at Minnesota, and they blocked a punt against us when Ben Kiernan ruined his knee in the Syracuse game. So I'm sure he'll come after it, and he will come after it early. I am excited about Tom as our punter. He has improved a lot. He is getting it off quickly. He can conventional punt or rugby punt, so it gives us advantages. So he's really done a good job, because I was asked that early in camp, and he's come on and done a tremendous job. And Noah Burnett made nearly all the kicks last year. So we should be good in those 2 areas as we are moving forward. Also, we decided to bring back the helmet stickers. I think Jeremy released that earlier today. It's something that I probably should have done 5 years ago when we came back. Players like it, and players that were here liked it. You've got the Tommy Thigpens and Rick Steinbachers and Corey Hollidays and Kevin Donnelly's and Brian Simmons, and I brought it up to them, said, would you all like to see them back? And they said, oh my gosh, we loved it. It was great. So we asked our coaches to get an award system where you would put the stickers on the helmet for certain awards, where you might lose a sticker because you didn't do something right. Then we took it to the leadership committee, then we took it to each position group. So we feel like we have a really, really good reward system moving forward. And on Sunday after every game, we will obviously award each player what he accomplished during the game. And there's some really cool stuff in there that even the players brought up and brought back to us. And Jeremy, on the blue helmet, it will be a white sticker, and on the white helmet, it will be a blue sticker, and the Tar Heel foot that we had before. So that's what we'll do. When we went to Texas, they'd never done anything like that, and Coach Earl didn't want to do it, so I didn't do it. When we got back here, I just didn't continue, and I wish I had. I should have. PJ Flex, the head coach at Minnesota, he's a friend of mine. We've been on trips together. We've played golf together. I don't enjoy coaching against friends. It makes it tougher. But I admire what he's done. He got really high energy. His teams play like his personality. His wife Heather's a dear friend of ours as well. He grew up in the Jim Tressel Ohio State tree, and then he really has been around Greg Schiano most of his career. And he coached in the pros at Tampa Bay with Greg. So he's a guy that I really admire. He's got 12 years as a head coach, 29 and 16 at home, so they play well at home. The real impressive stat is they're 13-1 in non-conference games at home. So they've been tough. They've got it as a yellow out, I think. It's gold out. So everybody in the stadium is going to wear gold, so they made it a special game. So we're anticipating that the atmosphere will be very much like the atmosphere at Virginia Tech when we went up there the first game after COVID, because they're all excited about us coming, and it should be a great opener on Fox national TV. Only a couple of games that night, so it'll showcase our team for sure. They've got people are wondering about our quarterback situation. They've got Mack Brosmer, excuse me. He was an All-American last year at New Hampshire. He won the Heisman for that level. He's really good. He can move. He's a guy that's very accurate. He goes to the right place. He's hard to sack. Then you add Darius Taylor, who gained 138 yards rushing against us last year. It's a great back. And their offensive line, 3 of those guys are going to be high draft choices. The offensive tackle's supposed to be a #1 pick. You start looking at Carroll, Cooper, and Essery. They're 6'6", 330, 6'7", 315, 6'6", 310, and all seniors or graduates. So they've been around a long time. So the back, the athletic quarterback, being physical, it'll be really a test of the 2 lines of scrimmage. We feel like we're improved in our defensive line. Our front 7, they're going to have a handful. And then you take our offensive line. There's only one offensive lineman on our team that's ever started a game. I mean, so they're totally inexperienced. And I told Randy Clements and I were talking about it, our offensive line coach. I said, it's not an excuse, it's a fact. And you've got a new defensive coordinator we've never seen before. So we're going to have to do a great job of figuring out who they are, what they're going to do. Defensive coordinator used to be at James Madison. He blitzed a lot. Minnesota hasn't been a blitzing team. So we'll have to figure all that out during the first quarter, and it'll be a real challenging, fun thing for our offensive staff to take those young offensive linemen who we think are really talented and figure it out with a new quarterback and get us in a position to go through. They've also got a couple other backs. They've got Bangura, who was the Mack Freshman of the Year at Ohio last year. They got a transfer from Oklahoma, Marcus Major. So they're going to run the ball, and they're going to be physical running the ball. And we got ahead of them in late third quarter last year, and it was harder for them to run it late. But that's who they are. Defensively, they'll be one of the best fronts we'll face. They've got a defensive end that was number 5 in Pro Football Focus pass rushing last year. So we've got the new young tackles, and he's really, really good. He's talented, and they're big and physical. Their best linebacker, Lindenberg, 45, did not play against us last year. He's their leader. He's kind of the captain, the guy in the middle. So all those things are going to be fun and challenging for us as we go through. But I think when you look at new quarterbacks on both sides, you look at new coordinators on defense on both sides, an away game for us, early game, national TV, a lot of fun stuff to look forward to next week. We will have a mock game tonight. Today is like game day. So this is what I'll wear for the game next week. Our coaches will be in their coaching gear. Our players will wear the uniforms tonight that they're going to wear next week with the shoes and the gear to make sure it all fits. And then we will take an hour tonight to go through every possible situation that could come up during the ball game. We will eat the pregame meal this afternoon at 3:45 that we will eat next Thursday. So this is game day for them. And we have enough, we've got a rare combination of a lot of older, experienced players and some really talented young ones that have never even been on a plane. So we've got to get the older ones to get the young ones to be more comfortable with what's going to happen on game day. And they're all working on that tonight. Questions?
With the many adjustments you guys are going to have to make on the fly early in the game next week, how do you simulate that tonight? How have you thought about doing that?
We think we're lucky, Andrew. Andrew's question was, how do you simulate the possible changes that you're going to look at? Jeff Collins is one of those that comes from everywhere. So we feel like, as inexperienced as we are in this offense with these two quarterbacks, Connor hadn't played very much. Max has never played in this offense. And all those young offensive linemen, we're very, very lucky to have Jeff bringing them from everywhere. So we feel like that's helped us, that we've been able to look at those things and we'd say, ooh, Chip Lindsey'd come over and I'd say, man, he's free. He'd say, yeah, that's good stuff. We're going to have to work on that. We'd have to get a game plan for that. So I think what you do is you stay simple. You try to figure out who they are in that first quarter, and then you redo your game plan. And that's what you've got to do. The first games are so much like bowl games because you haven't played in a while, you haven't tackled, you haven't been as live with your kicking game. So usually you've got to keep from losing those early ones until you can figure out how to win.
Mack, when you say you're planning to play both quarterbacks or hoping to play both quarterbacks, does that simply mean that one of them has not won the job this camp?
Yeah, let me, I've learned that what I say is not what people hear sometimes. So I'll be very, very careful, even in our staff meetings. I have staff notes every day, and I'll walk out, and one of them will come and ask me a question I just went over. And I said, you're 50, and you didn't listen, or you didn't understand me. So either I didn't say it properly or you didn't hear. So what about these players? And then fans, it's amazing when people come up and say, did you say this? And I said, yeah, I said it. And he said, well, that's not at all what that means. That's not even close. So what I'm saying is that we will have both quarterbacks ready, and we would play them based on how the game would dictate. When you go into the game, there'll be some that'll hear this and say, he said he's going to play two quarterbacks. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There'll be some that say, I can't believe they don't have a quarterback. They don't even have one. And there'll be some that say, oh gosh, maybe we got two quarterbacks. And really and truly, they're both good. They're both good enough to win. But we've got to figure out what during the game works the best to win the game. And that's it. And that's what we tell the players. We came up with, a guest speaker came in and said, don't talk about how good you are, put it on film. So that's been one of the themes for the fall. Don't tell me you won't play, everybody wants to play. Don't tell me you won't be an NFL player, everybody wants to be an NFL. Put it on film. And the ones that put it on film are the ones we're going to play Thursday. And the same with the quarterbacks. Jacoby's just been behind. He's had some great plays, but he didn't get here for spring, and so he'll keep working if one of these two guys got hurt. But right now it's a two-man race. But we do feel like that we can play either one of these guys and win. We've got to figure out what they're doing. We've got to figure out how we're handling it during the game, and which system within our system that one of them would run would be the one to give us the best chance to win. And not to be a smart aleck, but we feel like both of them are good enough to win. We don't know Max. I mean, we haven't seen him in a game. We've seen video. Connor we know, and Connor's got to keep coming, and we know that. But Connor's had some great plays. And so that's what we'll do is we'll be like you all. We'll be sitting there watching the game and say, this is working, we'll let it go. This isn't working, let's change it up. Let's try something else. And I do feel like this team, we need to win Thursday. We're going to be a lot better team this year at the end than we are at the beginning, because we got so many new things we got to fix. We got new quarterbacks. We've got new offensive line. All of those things should get better as the year goes on. I feel like our kicking game is going to be better. And usually you win games at the end of the year with a running game, defense, and kicking game, and we haven't been good in two of those three. So I feel like all of those will get better as the season goes. And that's because of depth and things that we feel like that we're doing.
Mack, should that be a tactic to try to confuse Minnesota to have to prep for both quarterbacks and watch the tape for both quarterbacks? Is that kind of what?
I'm sorry, Ross. Again, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Like saying you're going to play potentially both quarterbacks when how the game goes. Is that trying to make Minnesota have to prep for both quarterbacks and game plan for both, knowing that you could potentially play two? Is that kind of the strategy?
Yeah, but it's facts.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know how either quarterback's going to play. So if one of them's in the game and not playing well, we're going to play the other one. Period. I mean, it is. If it was Drake, we wouldn't be sitting here saying this, because we just don't know how they're going to play. And I think we could ask Austin. Austin Blasky just walked out. Ask Austin to come up here. He'd tell you everything. JJ's sitting back there. They can tell you everything. So, but no, very honestly, we don't know. We don't know how either one's going to play. So we're going to watch the game and try to put them in the best positions. And then if it's not working for one, you go with another to try to win the game.
Then you also said that you'd like to play both for the whole season too. So
Okay, listen carefully.
yeah.
I would like to play both based on how the season goes.
Right. So one could just cement themselves.
If one of them looks like Drake May on Thursday night and he's winning all the games, then we're going to play one quarterback. So what you do is you figure out what gives you the best chance to win the game, and that's what you do. Chip.
I was going to say, you've been in a lot of these owners before. Just from your experience, what's the most unpredictable part of it? Usually based on special teams and mistakes and those kind of things.
It is. Again, the older guys always taught me it's so much like bowl games. You haven't tackled as much as you're going to during the season, so the turnovers are a huge key in opening games. You're not really sure, especially with two new defensive coordinators, and now with the transfer portal, you know less about the teams than you did because you don't get to see them. You have to go back and look at them. You have to look at the running back at Oklahoma and the running back at Ohio U instead of where they played for Minnesota last year. And then special teams, most people don't do those live. So first time you get tomorrow, first live special teams are going to be Florida State and Georgia Tech at noon, and you're just really not sure, Chip, what's going to happen. So that's why the term came up, and a lot of people don't like it, that usually most first games are lost more than one because you usually make too many mistakes. And then, and what I've really asked our coaches consistently is fix your mistakes now. Every day in practice is a game. So if we dropped a punt Tuesday, then that was in Minnesota to me. It wasn't a Tuesday drop punt because he wasn't ready. We dropped the punt because it was the game. If it was a block punt Tuesday, then that was at Minnesota. So let's don't come back in here Sunday after Minnesota and say, God, we should have fixed this. We should have fixed this. We've got to fix it now. And that's partly what tonight's about. It'll be about organization. It'll be about substitutions on the sideline. You haven't done any of that stuff. And then you've got Jeff Collins for the first time ever here with a new staff. So that's new too. And then you've added the QCs and the analysts. So you got a lot more bodies running around that can coach than ever before. So you've got to be really careful that that's not chaos and that that's organized just because you got so many people. And sometimes more people's not the answer. You've still got to have a directive of who's in charge and who says what and who goes to who. And like we had a situation Tuesday in special teams where a receiver had a pull. He came out. Nobody told the special teams coach on punt, so we had 10 out there. And that's got to get fixed. I mean, so trainer has to go immediately to the special teams coach, and if he's on 3 special teams, he has to go to 3 coaches and say he is out. So then you have to get the next one up. So all of that stuff that's more chaotic in a first game than it is afterwards.
I was going to ask you about the stickers on the helmet. Did you say you might take a sticker off of that?
Well, we decided I said it wrong. We're not going to take a sticker off, but we will not allow one to go on. If you would have lost one, we're going to take one away before we put it back on. We didn't think it was right to take it off, but it would cost you one of your additional ones if you had lost one. And that came up from the players. They're the ones that said, if you have penalties, if you have this, then you should not be able to be awarded.
I believe at the beginning of fall camp, you said you guys were going to maybe go live a little bit more in special teams this past month. Did you, and are you comfortable with how much you went live?
Yes, we've done more special teams, and we've done it live. Every time, we just haven't tackled the returners. They've been thud, but every other phase of special teams has been live. So I'm I'm really excited about the preparation and where we are, and now we got to do it. You know, everybody says, how you going to do Thursday? And everybody comes back and says, he said the defensive line was good. They're awful. I don't know how they're going to be. I know how I see them every day, and I only see them against us. So when people say, offensive line can't block anybody, and you said they were better, they are better. Now they got to play better. There's not a coach in America, other than maybe 3 or 4, that has all the same guys back they had last year, and they were really good. At Texas, we knew certain years we were going to be really good. Nobody else knows if they're any good or not. We're about like most of the teams we play. So we have to do a better job playing and a better job coaching to win those even games to get where we want to go. And I have no clue what's going to happen Thursday night.
Mack, staying on the offensive line, just on the topic of Willie, I checked, he's the second shortest offensive lineman in the entire ACC.
Ooh, I don't want to tell him that.
There's one guy at Miami that's an inch shorter, like, no, anyways.
I don't tell Willie we need to hope he doesn't get hurt.
I was talking to someone with Caleb Pickle. He went back to when Willie was in the portal. He basically had to like stand on the table and just demand that you guys take him. What do you remember from that, and just how do you reflect now on that decision?
I remember watching Willie Lampkin on video and thought he is really good. And I loved the way he played. And then I remember Pat Suttis saying, before he walks in, you're going to think he's way too short. So don't get down on him when he walks in the door saying, oh my gosh. And Willie's been a blessing for us. He's one of our true leaders in the offensive line. He's tough every day. He loves to play. He's really aggressive. We didn't help him any by bringing in a 6'6", a 6'8", and a 6'8" tackle. That makes it look like this when you start looking at the curve in the front. But I love Willie, and he is a guy who breaks down all of those theories about stats. When if you measure him and you do all this, you're not going to take him. Watch him play. Look at the film. That's what you do. Put it on film, man, and Willie does every day.
Mack, let me ask you a question about the schedule, if I can. Last year, obviously, a lot of talk about how tough it was the first 4 weeks and then how it ended at the end. This year, I'd like to know how the schedule came together. I know Charlotte was 2 years ago, was much more. But this is so weak, the schedule was really weak, and you could win 12 and still not get into the playoff because
Yeah.
there's 6 games in the ACC, you've got
Yeah.
teams in the second division.
It's
How did the rest of the September come together?
Yeah, the schedules were all done before I got here. I've had no input into scheduling. So I can't tell you. You'd have to, I think Rick Steinbacher and Bubba do the schedule.
So Central and Madison were scheduled before you got here?
I think these were 10 years out. So yeah, if you can do that. And I can't remember, COVID changed a few things.
Yeah,
Charlotte, and then I think there was some stuff, maybe something happened with UCF after the hurricane, something might have happened, I don't know, but I don't have anything to do with scheduling. And the other thing is, I think you're really wrong by saying, it's your opinion, excuse me, I shouldn't say you're wrong, it's your opinion that this schedule's really weak and we might not could get in the playoff. You win your conference, you're gonna get in the playoff. And that's what we're trying to get. And you're also looking at a team in North Carolina Central that won the Celebration Bowl 2 years ago, and who knows whether they're good with transfers. Charlotte's, Biff's done a great job down there. They got a tremendous amount of transfers. JMU was #1 in the country last year. So it's easy for you to sit and say they're not any good because you don't have to coach against them or play against them. But again, I think that's an opinion, and
I'm just saying that you had 3 mid-majors in September.
I disagree with you.
6 out of 8 ACC teams are picked in the second division of the ACC.
Right.
Florida State won the league last year.
Yeah. I do know I sat in your position for 5 years, and I picked them in preseason, and usually the preseason picks were clueless. I mean, I was awful. And when they'd asked me to pick the national champion right before the national championship game, and I'd said, I don't know who's going to transfer, I don't know who's hurt, I don't know who's coming back, they said, I just pick them. So I don't look at all that. Yes, sir.
Sorry to cut you off on that. Mack, is it fair to say that Aiden Banfield, Davion Gauls, Jordan Shipp, in terms of the true freshmen, I mean, are these guys in line to play meaningful snaps, like with the offense, as opposed to like getting on the special teams? Is there anyone else there in terms of a true freshman? I mean, you said Banfield.
Just the offense?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Are you just talking offense?
Should have brought it
Yeah,
with me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Banfield, Bullet, Shipp.
Bullet.
I would say Banfield would be in a rotation. The others wouldn't be in an immediate rotation. Jordan got banged up, got him behind a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're all three really good players that are going to play some. I was trying to think, to be fair, I'm trying to think of who else. Alex Taylor, Ashton Woods.
Yeah, if we go defense.
Yeah.
You've got
Okay, well, who could you, terrible question I'm doing here. Who could you see as true freshmen that could get maybe some meaningful snaps with an offense or a defense? I mean, there's got to be a couple guys.
Yeah, I don't think anybody other than Banfield as of Thursday. It may change.
Okay.
And the other thing, I'm not going to see you again until Thursday. Somebody could get hurt tomorrow. I mean, those things change too. But I would think right now, if you're talking about meaningful snaps, probably Aiden would be the one that would be out there more than anybody else in a true freshman role.
And that's not to say, because I think why don't you just tell them generically about the freshman class and how
Yeah.
they're doing.
Freshman class, we said had a 3-4-7 in the core. They've been unbelievable. The staff loves them. The coaches love them. It's really a great class. So there's so many of them that may play some. We've told them, some of them hit a wall. They got really tired because they've never done this much. And we were throwing them out there and letting them go, and then they'd just be worn out. They'd be beaten down. So we've told them that what you need to do is keep working and improve, and by midseason, hopefully you'll be in that rotation. Right now, your guy may play some. But until you put it on film every day, we don't know whether you're going to show up at Minnesota or not because you're just so young. And then we had Brian Simmons stand up. Brian Simmons redshirted and didn't start his second year. So don't you freshmen be thinking about transferring and leaving because you're not playing the opening game. This guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame, so he's really good.
Mack, you said this is the best leadership group that you've had since you've been back. Coming off a year where you lose guys like Drake, British, Sed, Tez, Corey Gaynor, is it right to assume that a lot of new guys, quote unquote, have stepped up into that vacuum?
It is, but Power Eccles has been a leader since we've been here. He and Kamen Rucker are two of the best leaders I've ever been around. And then those guys start teaching other guys how to lead. And then Elijah Huzzy in his second year becomes more of a leader. Will Hardy can grow up. Stick Lane, he got here in the midsummer, got hurt and didn't even get to go through preseason, and now he's playing really well. So I think guys like that, you bring in an Austin Blaskey who's never started at Georgia, but he's played for 4 years. He's older, he gets it. You bring in a Josh Harris that's started at 2 different schools. He's older, he gets it. He tells them, grow up, quit whining. So a lot of those guys have come in and really stepped up and made a difference, and that's what I'm excited about.
You mentioned the Virginia Tech game 3 years ago now. That was, if I'm remembering correctly, Kamen and Power's first games with fans in college. So have they sort of taken that lead and are harping on that sort of environment to be younger guys?
Yes, and younger guys have played in front of 5 to maybe 20,000. They're going to have 60 really loud pulling against them on Thursday night, and I've told them you don't take it as pressure, you take it as pride, you take it as fun, and we'll just see how they respond.
Does it lack of stars? Go ahead.
I go back to true freshman real quickly. As far as Bullock goes, how close is he to being at a point where he can get some meaningful reps on offense?
Yeah, you start looking at he's mature, he's strong, he's tough. What he does better than most of these people is young freshmen is pass protect. and he's from a really good program. So he's ahead of the game, so he could play. And he could go in the game if the other guys got hurt, without question. So he's, you just got a couple older guys that are more ready.
You have 4 there, pretty good.
We do.
You guys be pretty comfortable, right?
We do. So Larry Porter's done a really good job of keeping his room. They're all responsible for keeping their rooms where they're good. And it's even going to get more important in the future that you start salary caps and all the things that are coming up here. You better keep your room full. It's like we're headed toward NFL on a fast track.
Does
Yes.
the lack of getting live stars for your offensive line concern you at all? I mean, that's crazy that only one guy started entering an away game in Big Ten.
You know, I will say that I was feeling really good till Randy Clements told me that the other day. And I said, we're not going to have excuses. So if that was an excuse, he said, no, it's a fact. And I said, I'm okay with facts. But I really like them. They've worked so hard. I like our defensive line right now better than I've liked them since we've been here. And they're playing so hard. We've had some real battles up front. And Minnesota will be among the best defensive line that we'll play this year. And we're putting these guys in a position where they have no clue what the defensive coordinator is going to do, because we don't know what he's going to do. So it'll be really fun to watch them. I'm going to talk to them about keep your composure. And there are going to be some good plays and bad plays, but they're also talented that I'm just excited to watch them.
Have you already decided which quarterback
To go off that a little bit, what is kind of the process of, looking at Minnesota's defense that does bring back a lot, but you, as you touched on, has a new defensive coordinator. Is there a balance that you strike of looking at how last year's game went, looking at even the game, like what is the kind of balance that you strike?
Yes, it's a great question, but you go back and look at Drake threw for 404 yards. We didn't run the ball. We couldn't run it against them. It's the same group, except they've got their best linebacker back with that front. So right now, people are going to anticipate that we will be run-oriented because we've got more experience at running back than we do at quarterback in this offense. So can we run the ball better than we did last year with a different offensive line that's never played before against the same defense? I don't know. That'll be one of the really great things about Thursday night is when we walk out of there, we'll know more about ourselves that we don't know right now. We can say that offensive line is good, or they're talented, they messed up a bunch of stuff. They're going to be good before the season's over, but they need to pick it up. So we've got a lot of question marks we'll answer Thursday night.
Was there anything, we got time for 2, was there anything in particular that, and obviously like you said, Drake had it going, but was there anything in particular that they did kind of taking away Amarian's, production in last year?
PJ being raised with Shiano, Greg, they're both great coaches. He's going to stop the run, period, and make you throw it. And that's just who he is, and that's basic football. We haven't done that here. I've tried, and we haven't, and we've got to. So it's going to be 2 lines of scrimmage that are trying to knock the heck out of each other to see who can run the ball, to see who can get a quarterback that hadn't been out there on these fields very much with Connor, and not at all with Max, and their guy had never been out in this game, who can give their quarterback a chance. Okay, we got
Matt, with Amarian, what has stood out to you about the way he's approached off-season, training camp? You talked to Charlotte about trying to expand his game to like a Christian McCaffrey-like skill set, trying to expand on that. But what stood out to you about how he's approached it when everybody's looking at him as a centerpiece of your offense?
Yeah, Aaron, Omarian's one of the nicest, hardest working kids I've ever seen in my life. If he speaks, it's because you spoke to him. And he's usually going to say, yes, sir. And he doesn't gripe. He never changes emotion. I mean, if he scores a touchdown, he looks at you the same way if he went the wrong way. He's going to do what he's supposed to do. He does everything perfect. He never misses a class. He's always the first one in his seat. And he works so hard. He gets mad when we take him out. If we're having a thud group and then all of a sudden we go to scrimmage, he's going to be mad that we don't let him scrimmage. So he's just an absolute dream. He wanted to catch the ball better out of the backfield. He wanted to pass protect better. So I would say those are the 2 things that he's really, really worked on. He was a great receiver last year, so I don't know. I think it's route running He's really worked hard on being more distinct in his routes and running away from man and sitting in zones and doing those type things. But he's really good, and he's a dream. And the other thing in modern day football, our fans, talk about loyalty. He got offered 4 times as much money to leave as he would make to stay here and never even considered it. So think about loyalty. I mean, how much does that happen modern day? So I'm so proud of him, and I'm pulling for him, and I want him to have the year that he deserves to have, because he's done everything right since he's been here.
Can I get one real quick?
Yeah, we got a staff meeting, but I'll get a couple more. I'll be quick.
Okay. Mack, the couple times this preseason when you've mentioned Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno in regard to people asking you why the heck you keep doing this, I mean, have their situations really stuck in your mind in terms of you felt like those guys lost their sense of purpose when they stopped coaching? Is that what jumps out about their situations and why you mention it?
No, I remember when Coach Paterno got fired, and he died right afterwards. So he coached until as long as he could. Coach Bowden got fired. Both of them got fired, weirdly enough, when you think about it, and I hated that for both of them. In fact, I told Coach Bowden and his family, there's no way they'll ever fire you. Your name's on the stadium, and they did. They didn't quit, ever. And I don't know that they would have in talking to both of them. What I want to do is as long as I feel like I'm doing a good job, and I know more about that than anybody else, and I'm really hard on myself, as long as the kids are listening, we've got good coaches here, and we're putting a productive product on the field that has a chance to keep getting better and elevating us at the most difficult time, most challenging time in college football history because of all the changes to do this, and especially at a school like ours, then I'm healthy, I'm excited, I'm can't wait till next week. I'm sitting here thinking this is really Friday, for tomorrow would be Saturday on game day, because this is my Friday routine usually. And then I'm thinking, but this is game day, so I got to get out there tonight. How many people get to do that in their lives? How many people get up every morning, go to bed every night with a purpose, and get up every morning excited about what they're going to do all day? And I get to do that. And it's not about me, because I think I said in some interview that, well, it's my purpose. If I quit, I won't have a purpose. Well, that's not the reason to keep doing it. It's not about me. But if I'm the best person we can have at this time to do this job, and I know all of them, so I know who the others would be. If I'm the best one, and I'm healthy, and I like doing it, and I know what we're doing, and we're making progress, I'm going to do it till somebody tells me they'd rather me not, or until I decide that there's somebody better than me. And that's it. Somebody said the other day, "You just doing this for money?" I said, "No, I'm really not." They said, "Well, you just doing it for your ego." I said, "I'm really not. I don't need any of that anymore. I'm doing it because I love these kids. I love football. I love this. I love you all. I love sitting and talking to you about the game. It's a wonderful game, and this stuff really challenges my mind when you ask me questions I have to sit here and think about. And then I'm leaving here to go up to a staff meeting with 30 people and talk to them about this afternoon and tomorrow. What do we have to do Tuesday or Sunday, which is Tuesday? What can we do between now and Thursday night to prepare for all the things you've asked me? So we've done everything we can do to prepare. Not many people get to do that. Most people are looking at their watch, and they hate the 5 o'clock till they get to go home. And I hate it when people say, "Thank goodness it's Friday. I don't have to work anymore this weekend." I'm thinking, I don't even know it's Friday. I mean, I'm so excited. I'm just really, really blessed. So don't want to be in the way. I don't want to stay too long. But as long as I'm doing a better job than who I think we would bring in to do it, then I'm good.
Mack, when you first came here, you talked about winning the national championship, you got to have divisions and so forth. With everything that's happened in the game the last 5 years, do you still think this program could win the national championship?
Absolutely. TCU was a game away 2 years ago. So absolutely. Do we have some things we need to fix? Yes. Are we better than we were when we got here? Absolutely. Are we better than a lot of our fans think we are? Absolutely. Are we closer than a lot of people think? Absolutely. We live in a negative world, and a lot of people just get up every morning looking for something to gripe about. And when you lose at the end of the year, that's easy. That's an easy gripe, and I got it. I'm griping about it too. Anything else?
Said you feel healthy. Any off-season diet or health changes that have impacted that? And you look a little slimmer. Haven't seen you in about a year.
Yeah. No, I got way down, and then got a little bit back during recruiting, and I'm getting it back down, so I'm headed back down. But the story that C.L. Shepard told when he came about the guy in the desert that he was walking, all he had was his cell phone, a knife, and his cell phone went dead, and some boulders fell, and it pinned his arm, and he couldn't get out, and nobody came, and he was going to die, so he had to cut off his arm to live. They say it's a true story. And he took the knife out, cut off his arm to live, and he turned to the players and the coaches and said, what would you cut off to save your life? What would you cut off to help your life? What would you cut off to have a better team? And I thought, I'm too heavy. I sit here every day and talk to kids about diet and effort and discipline, and I'm saying it, I'm not showing it. Put it on film. So I've worked really, really hard to try to get myself in better shape to be a better role model for them.
Have you decided which quarterback will go out first yet? Like, you know, tell us, like, you decided it, you know right now.
I've got what I think will happen. Again, you're 5 days away. As soon as I say yes or tell the staff or tell the team that one of them sprains an ankle tomorrow, it all changes. So yeah, yes.
Well, I was just going to ask briefly, just on the note, all the retirement questions, again, but you spoke earlier this summer about your grandfather's influence, and how much does that still count?
Yeah, my granddad was the love of my life, still is to this day. I mean, we lost him many years ago, and he was a gentleman. He always had a smile on his face. I used to ride his bus to the games with a little leather jacket when I was 5 and 6 years old. He would get up and go fishing and hunting every morning of a ball game, which I didn't know at that time. But when he died, it was amazing the number of stories that people told about his character and his attitude and his smile. I never saw him get mad at anybody. I mean, it was just amazing to me. But he won all the games, and the stadium's named after him. And he told me a few things. He said, make sure you put yourself in a position to never get fired, which is what I hated when it didn't work out at Texas. I thought I let him down. He said, you've got enough about you to be in the Hall of Fame if you'll keep doing this. And that worked out. So I was very proud of that night. I was most proud for him that happened. And then he said, always do what you know is the right thing to do. And I've always done that. And he said, if there's any question about whether it's right or not, don't do it. And he said, but if you'll do what's right, people will get mad at you and people will be frustrated, but you'll sleep good at night, and you'll know that the people that are looking to you for leadership are going to know that you're going to do what's right. And that's what I tell our staff. We're going to do what's right. We're going to do what's best for these kids every day. And I tell everybody in our staff room, all of our coaches have children, and I said, you treat these players like you would want your son to be treated. And if you're not, then you're not doing your job. And I didn't bring the right person in here because that's very, very important. So while you're doing all of that in a world that's not all perfect right now in our business, and some people are cutting corners, I told the staff yesterday, I don't care. We're going to do everything right. We're going to do everything within the rules. And we're going to do everything that's best for North Carolina, best for these kids. And that's who we're going to be moving forward. And we're still going to win all the games. We're going to do it by doing it right. We're not going to take shortcuts. Anything else?
You really hurt your knee in a fraternity pickup.
I did, which is really, and I tell the players that. I was the guy that stayed hurt all the time. So I said, if you put it on film, you got to get trust for your coach to put you out there, because it's really important to us. And if he doesn't trust you, then he's not going to put you out there during the game. And people are going to get mad at him. He didn't trust you because you didn't do what you're supposed to do off the field or in practice, and you got to stay healthy. And I said, I was a guy that couldn't stay healthy. I ruined my knee in a fraternity football game, And then I tried to play, and it just got worse and worse, and doctors weren't doing as well then as they are now, and medicine was different, but that's what I've told them. The other thing we told them recently is, last night, what was your 24 hours in preparation of tonight? I could if you would tell me the truth and tell me what your 24 hours were, I'd probably know whether you're going to be ready to play or not. So when we've lost to lesser teams, what was your 24 hours? Why weren't you as prepared for that game as you were the one before that we won? And the only way this works, we all want to win all the games. That's our deal. So the only way it works is you got to get ready every day to be that same guy that's ready for every game. Not many people do that. Most of our world's average, and it's okay. It's okay to be average. But if you're going to be average in football, you're going to get beat. And that's what I've told these kids. Don't be average. Run from average. Run from average to be great, and get up every day with a purpose to go do something that's important in your life. And I told them that you can go out tonight. It's Friday night. You don't have anything to do tomorrow. You're off. And you can lose your reputation in 15 minutes that you've built for 22 years. That's a choice you have. I can't be with you. You can also ruin all the conditioning you've put in between now and Sunday, and then have an awful practice Sunday morning, or go out there not ready to practice Sunday morning and get hurt and lose everything that you've put in for the last 6 months. Or you can have a 24-hour preparation for what's important in your life, and if playing good and winning is the most important thing, then you'll prepare for that 24 hours. And this stuff is, the game is very simple. It's played and coached by very complicated people.
How tough was it for you to go to your coach and go, I was playing for the SAAs in this game this weekend?
I felt, it's a great question, Chip. I feel really guilty now that I didn't pay my way to my coaches, and I didn't then. I thought, how sorry for me that I was hurt. I felt sorry for me, but I didn't lift like I was supposed to. I was out playing fraternity football instead of doing what I was supposed to do. So now I realize when these kids get hurt, they're not worried about me. I wasn't. And I tell the kids that. Do what you're supposed to do to prepare, and you've got less chance to get hurt. But if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, there's consequences. And that's just a huge part of it. I remember sitting in the hospital, and there was a guy next to me. At that time, they didn't have rooms. They had those little curtains you pull back and forth. And the guy next to me was screaming that his feet were killing him. And at that time, he had cast, and I had a full leg cast on the right side, and he had it on for like 6 weeks or something. It was awful. Maybe 6 months. I couldn't, and you had to take that coat hanger and scratch your leg because it was awful. I mean, it's just awful. You didn't have anything like you had today. And I finally got so tired of hearing that guy scream. I asked the nurse, I said, would you tell him to shut up? I've had it. I can't do this. She pulled the curtain back. He'd been run over by a train. He'd lost his legs above his knees. He had no feet. And he was delirious, and he was screaming that his feet were hurting. And I said, all right, God, I got it. I need to keep my mouth shut, get my knee well. And then that's when I started coaching. I couldn't get back. So I did not pay for my scholarship. And that's something that I hate. All my coaches, most of them are gone, but it's something I hate every day that I didn't give back what they gave me. And that's what I'm trying to help these young guys realize. Don't be me. Don't be like I was. You be tougher than me. You be better than me. You prepare yourself better for me, because one of the things we can all do in our lives, and especially coaches, is we can help them not make the same mistakes we made. And that's one thing I try to do with them.
Do you hope that Governor Walz is at the game Thursday night?
I'm sorry?
Do you hope that Governor Walz is at the game?
Love you, Art. Say it.